Ever since video games have come out, there's been huge debates over the pros and cons for if it's good for you or the side effects or whatever. My proposition today is that video games have a strong negative influence on child development, and I will attempt to prove this with my 3 points. My first point is video games cause children to be more aggressive. 2, video games can lead to crime. And 3, video games can lead to a strong negative impact on learning. My first point, video games can cause children to be more aggressive. Well, children copy what they see. So if they're playing video games that has a lot of violence and aggression in it, they'll mimic it. Monkey see, monkey do. It applies to kids very well. And most parents don't actually know the ratings their kids are playing of the video games. A study done by the Palo Alto Medical Foundation showed that most parents are unaware of the content or the entertainment software rating board's rating of the video games their children play. So a lot of kids that are really young can be playing mature rated games that they just really shouldn't be, that their parents just aren't aware of. And after children see all this violence and hostility in video games, they will expect other people and kids in real life to also act that way. Dr. Rick Nort in 2012 did a study, and he said, after playing a violent video game, we found that people expect others to behave aggressively. That expectation may make them more defensive and more likely to respond with aggression themselves, as we saw in this study and in other studies we have conducted. So, right there. My second point is video games can lead to crime. Most video games have like a reward system for doing crimes. You murder someone in a video game, you get some money. If you steal a car, you get XP. Whatever it may be. And it also has repetition. You kill over and over, and that's a method of learning. You want to remember something, you do it over and over and over again. So in these games, kids keep doing the same thing over, and it makes them desensitized to the fact that it's wrong. Some people say that video games aren't that bad and that don't lead to crime or whatnot, but you really just can't say that because a lot of times everyday crime around us could be related to video game violence and the kids that play it, but you just don't actually see the relation there. Sadly, sometimes you can't see the relation. Some of you might have heard this. August of this year, in Louisiana, an 8-year-old boy shot and killed his grandmother while she was watching TV. And this is from Lauren Russell of CNN. Although a motive for the shooting is unknown at this time, investigators have learned that the juvenile suspect was playing a video game on the PlayStation 3, Grand Theft Auto 4, a realistic game that has been associated with encouraging violence and awards points to players for killing people, just minutes before the homicide occurred. So this little 8-year-old boy was playing Grand Theft Auto and was probably running around killing people in the game, because that's what you do, you kill a lot of people in that game. So he probably was played that a little bit and then found a gun around his house and say, well, hey, I do this all the time in video games. So he tried it out and he killed his grandmother. And he can never take that back. That's pretty sad. Leads to my third point, video games can lead to negative impacts on learning. Video games can be a huge distraction for kids because, would you rather do your homework or would you rather play a video game? Obviously you'd rather play the video game. It's much more fun. In March 2010, Valerie Strauss of the Washington Post said, researchers who followed 64 boys from the age of 6 to 9 for 4 months discovered that those who received a new PlayStation gaming system earned lower reading and writing test scores than children who did not get the video game system. So all these kids are playing video games and pushing off their homework or whatever and not studying, and it shows up in their test scores. And so many of these kids play several hours every day, and it's just so easy to get addicted to video games because that's kind of what they want you to do. According to a study published in the Journal of Psychology and Popular Media Culture, it said kids spending too much time playing video games may exhibit impulsive behavior and have attention problems. So not only are the kids playing these video games, pushing off their schoolwork so they're not studying, but the video games themselves can develop so that they have a problem and it's harder for them to actually pay attention in class. So that's obviously going to affect their learning and their test scores. So I hope I was able to show you guys how video games have a huge negative influence on child development because they lead to kids being more aggressive, they can lead to crime, and they have a strong negative impact on learning.
Right, all the structural stuff is really fine. Proposition, preview, signposting in the body of the speech, that's all easy to follow. The supporting proof, you explain ideas and concepts pretty well on most of those points. Sometimes I think you could use a little bit more information to expand on them. I thought the first point, for instance, really feels like you've got one authority who is making this link on aggression, and that's about it. It all comes down to sort of this monkey see, monkey do sort of thing, and you've got an opinion that is not, at least it wasn't backed up by a study or any statistics that I heard being cited. I'm not saying that the person isn't qualified, and I'm sure their opinion is valuable, but that's the only thing you've got on that particular point. It was a little bit better on the other 2 points, because sometimes there were good explanations as to the reasons that were going on, and sometimes you provided a study, for instance, that backed up that particular point. I thought the one study, for instance, on the kids not doing well because they'd gotten the new PlayStation toy, or a game, I should say. Toy. Sorry. It's a game, it's a toy. Same thing, same difference. I'm sorry. Because they'd gotten that game. I thought that connected pretty well to the point that you were making there. So it's not that there's anything wrong with the evidence that you have on the second and third point, although I think you could use a little bit more to be convincing. You're relying on kind of a surface level of the argument, and I think you found the right kinds of issues on the second and the third point. The first one I think you needed a little bit more on. So the generalizations are not quite as strong as they could be, but the presentation was pretty effective, and once again, when it came to structural stuff at the end of the speech, it was very solid. We know what your position is and why you feel that way.